The Trump administration formally notifying Harvard University that the school has failed to protect Jewish students, putting its federal funding at risk. The notice comes following a probe by the administration's task force to combat anti-Semitism. NTD correspondent Jason Blair has more.
The federal government's multi-agency task force to combat anti-Semitism has informed Harvard University that it violated the civil rights of Jewish students. In a letter to Harvard President Alan Garber, the task force says, after a thorough investigation, HHS Office for Civil Rights finds that Harvard University is in violent violation of Title VI of the Civil Rights Act, which prohibits discrimination on the basis of race, color, and national origin. The letter continues that the investigation found Harvard to be, quote, deliberately indifferent in some cases, and in others a, quote, willful participant in anti-Semitic harassment of Jewish students, faculty, and staff. Toward the end, the letter says, failure to institute adequate changes immediately will result in the loss of all federal financial resources and continue to affect Harvard's relationship with the federal government. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt told NTD that the investigation found that the majority of Jewish students at Harvard reported negative bias or discrimination on campus.
While a quarter of Jewish students at Harvard felt physically unsafe, Jewish and Israeli students were assaulted and spit on. They hid their kippahs for fear of being harassed and concealed their Jewish identity from classmates.
In response to the letter, Harvard spokesperson Jason Newton says, in responding to the government's investigation, Harvard not only shared its comprehensive and retrospective anti-Semitism and anti-Israel bias report, but also outlined the ways that it has strengthened policies, disciplined those who violate them, encouraged civil discourse, and promoted open, respectful dialogue. Harvard is far from indifferent on this issue and strongly disagrees with the government's findings. The task force to combat anti-Semitism was created in February in compliance with President Trump's executive order titled Additional Measures to Combat Anti-Semitism. The task force consists of the Department of Justice, the Department of Health, the Department of Education, and the General Services Administration. Reporting in Washington, D.C., Jason Blair, NTD News.